Welcome back to Ready, Set, Multiplex. I am here with the big Canadian boss man, Brookly Vail. Vail, here to talk to me about everything Multiplex. How are you doing tonight?
We're doing great. It is Canada. It is the east coast of Canada. It is cold, so I have my. Some people have called this like my robe. I always have a blanket on when I'm in here. But yeah, it's good to be on here. Good to be the first Canadian guest of Ready Set Multiplex on the Schmoes of the North group. Yeah.
And I'm happy that I think you are the first Islander to come on Schmoes in the North in general. So thank you for that. We're trying to hit all the provinces. Got my bingo card crossed off.
I'm going to tell you right now, Newfoundland is essentially like a needle in a haystack. I've yet to meet anybody from Newfoundland. Challenge accepted.
So let's just jump right into it. So how did you first get involved with Multiplex? And what's your journey been like through the years?
So I joined this community in October of 2017, I believe. Really in like the precursor days of what Multiplex would eventually become. There was another, I'm sure Boatman and maybe Barr talked about it a little bit, where Multiplex is really derived. It came from a previous fan league that we all worked on. Just things happened, and a bunch of us left, we sort of dived off into two paths. So it was me and Tim Smith were sort of the people that helped run this other league. But he and I split off. He would create what is now known as Multiplex. I would join Take 3. And I would do jukebox trivia over there, which was my music trivia program, and I would do like trivia, and I would do top tens, and I would do debates as well. And then I also did late night with Take 3, which was like our sort of our laid back podcast show. And then eventually, Tim, Caleb, and Kane had asked myself and Cody Newberry to run Nerdgasm, which is the fandom debate league. This would have been last year, I believe. I think it was July. I think it was like June or July of like 2018. Sort of that area, neck of the woods, maybe. I could be off by about a year or so. But that's normal for me. So we did that. We did that for a while. I got a little bit busy with things and whatnot, and I sort of postponed, I guess, some shows with Nerdgasm. Thankfully, Tim Bracala, one of our editors for like fandom and Nerdgasm, and just one of the general editors and overall, he came in and really helped out Nerdgasm and really sort of gave it the leadership that it ultimately needs. So I've did that for a while, and I've been hosting a lot for a good little while. We were doing the after show almost weekly, and that was similar to Late Night with Take 3, but a lot more laid back. And it wasn't like there wasn't a flow to it. There was sort of like, hey, this random point that just came up, let's talk about it, or like, hey, let's play games and stuff. And I think that's what I think that's like sort of what I love about this community is that it's very inclusive, I guess, and there's so many things that you can do, and it's a great community in general.
Yeah, talking about that inclusiveness, like us over at Shows in the North, like we just got involved recently with you guys, and you've been it's just been arms wide open. We've come right in, and you guys have become like family to us. What is it that keeps you wanting to do this? Because obviously, as you say, you've been doing this for a couple years now with the hosting and the podcasting, doing after shows. What keeps you motivated, wanting to do it week in, week out?
So for me personally, I get the same vibe, whenever I'm like, say I go to like open mic and like I go to like play a few songs or whatever. I get that sort of same vibe. It's just like that sense of satisfaction or whatever. Also, it's a ton of fun. Like Caleb Coho and Cody Newberry, Caleb Boatman, the entirety of the new British Empire. We've become great friends, and oftentimes after you record a match or you record a show, it's very similar to like the best way I compare it to is like rec league hockey. So like you have the game or whatever, but then like the best part is like the hour or two after where you're just sitting back, like shooting the shit, having fun, and that's where and that's what sort of keeps me going back into it. And also like the bigger events, like the Warzone free for all, like those big pay-per-view events, those are fun, and like they're a ton to prepare, and they're a ton to really get going. But once it happens, like Game of Factions, there was a lot of man work put into that, and I think the entirety of Multiplex is happy with how that turned out. So that's ultimately what keeps me going.
You're talking about these big events, and you're talking about Warzone and fandom specifically. So I got to put you on the spot here. Who, in your eyes, would you classify as the GOAT? Who is the greatest player to play in Multiplex, fandom, Warzone?
So you kind of have to divvy this up. Fandom, like you can't not talk about Robert Parker, the man, with the exception of the triple threat teams match or the inaugural team title. He never lost a match. Was constantly dominant. People would give him a run for his money, but inevitably he just kept pushing the bar for how well a person that can not only study but how well a person can perform, and you saw that in his last fan league match with Game of Factions. Yeah, he had 100% accuracy. He perfect game, steals and everything. In terms of Warzone, I think the easy answer is Jeremy Adams, just purely because like he was the person that I looked up to whenever I first joined the community. Like him and Sandy and like Alex Warden, like they were sort of like the people that got me into this community. And he was a main question writer. He was incredible. But in terms of overall GOAT, and I think the GOAT moving forward, I would honestly say Jake Marignoni.
Okay.
I had a rough introduction to Jake Marignoni. He and I actually competed in both of our fan league debuts, and he knocked me out. And that was just a sign of things to come. It's like in Warzone in particular, him and Jeremy have had this extensive rivalry. I think over the course of the leagues, they've played somewhere along like 11 or 12 matches, and they will definitely compete again in the future. But I think Jake has the study material, and I think Jake has that, like, it's a combination of broad knowledge and sort of like these niche sort of branches that he could pick at, where ultimately, and also his age too, like the man's maybe 21 at most. If like considering how long the fan leagues go, he could be a champion for a very long time.
The two of them two of them are playing tomorrow. Who do you got?
It depends on how much time they have. Because I know Jake is a really good studier. Jeremy, I don't know what his study capabilities are like, but his overall fundamentals of movie trivia itself sort of make up for that. Where it's just like it'll be like, who was like the third actor in this movie that I might have heard of once? Oh, it was obviously this person. They were also in like this and this and this and this and this. So yeah, I would say probably Jake. I guess I would say probably 2.5 points. I would set the spread at like 2.5. Yeah.
Well, you heard it here first. Jake is gonna win that match. We're announcing it right now. No, we're not. I don't have that kind of authority. So as we look to the future and stuff, what is in your mind? What do you see the vision of Multiplex going forward? Obviously, it's a larger team effort, but you're a big part of that. So what's the future for you? What does Multiplex hold?
I think ultimately, because I think one of the big things is that like especially with the fan leagues in particular, is that I think for like the casual Schmodown audience, we're considered like a minor league, and a lot of us would sort of disagree, because I think we have something a little bit more, I wouldn't say different to offer as opposed to the Schmodown. Like I think we cater to the people that don't really have a chance to get on, whether it's like traveling expenses, or just they don't have that overall movie trivia like background, I guess, or just the movie background. And I think for Multiplex in general, I think it's just in terms of just growing that audience more and trying to figure out what demographics can we grab and what can we do to really give as much, I guess fan service in a way. I think Multiplex in general, Multiplex and the fan leagues overall offer that with like more difficult questions, and you see like Full Metal does random matches, and like Multiplex, like we do we do TV. Fandom obviously is like a sort of like inner geekdom, but again, it's like what if we threw in these other like big mainstays categories like your Disney's, like your DreamWorks, like your Pixar's, and then now especially like with Multiplex Miscellaneous, we have found with that first episode that we are starting to get that more trivia based demographic as opposed to the like movie lovers first, trivia fans second. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so, yeah, that's what it is.
I've always looked at the fan leagues and Multiplex in particular for all our Canadian watchers as the OHL to NHL, similar but different, equal. Both leagues are fair, and I cheer just as hard for my London Knights as I do for any Canadian team. Talk to me a little bit about Multiplex Miscellaneous there, because we talked a little bit beforehand, and that's something that really piqued my interest.
Yeah, so Multiplex Miscellaneous is this was brought to me by Cody Newberry, one of the head honchos over at Multiplex. He had the idea of, because in the early days of the fan leagues, you would have entire leagues devoted to different medias. Like there's still an entire league devoted to TV trivia. I had music trivia for the longest time. I think it was like well over a year and a half. Like we had our own champions and everything. And you would see some video game stuff, some wrestling stuff, and it was like I think the general conclusion that we came to was that there isn't quite enough audience to fill each of those niches individually. So let's bring them together. And I think that excuse me. So yeah, Multiplex Miscellaneous is like it's not, I wouldn't say spontaneous, but it's a impromptu, I guess, sort of show where generally with like Warzone and fandom and like 99% of every other trivia league, it's like a set roster. There's a schedule. If you win, you play this person here. We want to make Multiplex Miscellaneous as casual as possible. So I talked to you about it earlier, where a Multiplex Miscellaneous in terms of selecting is a very Price is Right style, where you have to be active in the chat to sort of to get in, and then that way it incentivizes people to not only watch the show live, but then it's like, well, if I watch the show live, maybe I get in, maybe I have a chance. And I think ultimately, and I think the thing that is kind of been difficult to do in the last couple of years is to have that program for newcomers of the community to really get their feet wet. Unless, because like a lot of times with Warzone and fandom in general, sometimes you're waiting like a month, like sometimes a couple of months to get a match. And with anything that you start new, it's kind of daunting, I guess, in a way. And then with Multiplex Miscellaneous, what we want to do is we just want to be we want to be very user friendly and just very casual. Not have the questions be ridiculously hard. Like one of the other admins was watching the show on Sunday, and his dad, somebody who doesn't really pay attention to the family community or whatever, was watching along, and he said, "I would actually like to be on the show." So whenever I hear stuff like that, I'm like, cool. Then that means that what we're doing is right. That we're expanding that audience to try and grab more people into it. Yeah,
and like Multiplex Miscellaneous. That's a tough word. Tougher to spell, but tough to say. What's your goal? goal for that? Obviously to bring new people in, but do you see it just staying as a spontaneous thing, or do you want to grow it out?
I don't know yet. There have been talks, like we had discussed the idea of like maybe doing like a Multiplex Miscellaneous Championship. Maybe there's like the possibility of doing teams. But honestly, it's such a new show that we want to make sure that we have like the right quality of show first before we really delve into it. I like, if it was up to me personally, I would love if it was just like a casual thing where it's like, records don't really mean anything. You know what I mean? Where it's not where we have like 6-0 versus like 5-0, and then it's like, well, like the loser doesn't get to play for a little bit. We essentially want it to be like a scrimmage, or for the Canadian viewers, a game of shinny. It's like it's competitive but not super serious.
Can I say just how refreshing it is to talk to another Canadian, hear words like shinny as opposed to scrimmage? That melts my Canadian heart.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I think any other time that I mention shinny, they're like, "What are you talking about? What is that? Is that a new form of baseball that we don't know about?"
So, you talk about how you enjoy the spontaneousness. Let's go back a little bit into Multiplex as a whole. What is it about this fan league in particular that you really find interesting? Is it the storylines, the characters, the rivalries that come up in between certain people, just the trivia? What is it about Multiplex that really makes Multiplex special and different from the other leagues?
So there's a lot of things. In particular, there are some people like your Caleb Boatmans, your Tim Bercalas, your Brian Michaels, your Cody Newberries, and your Caleb Cohos. Like that group of 5 people really push the bar in terms of like just meeting deadlines and making sure that there's consistent content. Because I think what a lot of people forget is that we do this for free. Like this is our hobby. Like we don't do this for money. We kind of do it for views, but it's more so for fun. And to see that dedication from those 5 people is great, and it really caters to the fans. I also love in Multiplex in particular, I love how just the competition has gotten better and better and better throughout the last like year or so. Because you think about like your Kevin Spence's and like your Mike Kalinowski's of the IG, I think they really set the tone for not only what the Schmodown would become, but what the fan leagues would do, and where studying is such a key aspect to not only winning but getting towards championships. Studying now especially is. It's not something that you can't really not do. You can't be like, well, I'll just go into this and try and perform. So it's a dedication, and I think it's the variety of things, because I think it's sort of simple to be like, we'll just do, like, if we just did Warzone, I don't think we would really stand out from the crowd. I think it's ultimately the variety that Multiplex does, and like even the name itself, like Multiplex, like so many different options to cater and provide. And I think that's what I love about it so much.
Yeah, especially for someone like me coming into this, where I've seen other fan league matches, but something I really latched onto was in one of the more recent fandom matches I watched, the final round betting round. I thought it was such an interesting wrinkle that you guys have added, and really set the tone away, where it's not just watching another show, and I found myself very invested in that. Can you give me, as a showrunner, any hints as to any big plans to changes or anything like that coming down the road?
I don't believe so. I think they're pretty confident with how they're running fandom. They have I think up until Warzone really hit its stride and hit its peak, fandom was easily the best division in all the fan leagues in terms of in terms of just general competition. I think the depth, not only the variety of questions. I think it was really welcoming to see like your Disneys and your Pixars and like like James Bond being added to that category. And yeah, I wouldn't say there's really anything in like in talks of like trying to change things up, but I know myself personally that there are some pay-per-view-esque events that Multiplex is looking to do in the future, and I would get very excited for that because that's another way to sort of differentiate ourselves from the crowd, is doing these like bigger events.
All right. And with that, I think we're going to wrap it up unless there's anything else you would like to discuss tonight.
I want to plug one thing. I got to plug my faction. I got to plug the new British Empire. We are the greatest faction that isn't the First Order, I guess, because they have most of the belts. But yeah, so the New British Empire. We also have a Facebook page, New British Empire, that's really run by Tony Heald. He's sort of like the man behind the scenes that runs all that. But we do like live shows, and we do like Schmo Center. So they also break down showdown matches. And that's another sort of hub in the community where a lot of people from the family community just sort of go to hang out and have a good time.
Well, that's good. Also, I'm loving that shirt. All the best of luck to you and the new British Empire. That's going to do it for us. Thank you so much for sticking around with us, and we hope to have you back on the show very soon.
Thank you for having me. Great time.
No problem. All right. See ya.